Hey Reddit.
How do you deal with an overly friendly neighbor who asks too many questions about your life when you happen to be outdoors at the same time?
We need your help to grow. Like and subscribe for more daily content. If you're not very open to chat, just keep things polite yet quick. It's nice to have a good relationship with your neighbors. If they do delve into personal questions, just say, "That's a bit personal. I'd rather not talk about that." Most important thing is to be polite. Don't be an asshole, or act standoffish when it's not necessary. Honestly, just use some common sense. Don't be a Redditor, is all I'm saying.
I've repeatedly seen people on askreddit say that they hate small talk and prefer to jump right into weird-ass convos with people they don't know. I'm sure it works sometimes, but sometimes I feel like the average Redditor has never been outside.
Hey man, nice lawn. What do you use on that? It's personal.
Wow, the responses. Some good soon are clearly trying to be funny. But some are disturbing. Look, it is important to be on good, if not, friendly terms with your neighbors. You will have them in your life for a long time whether you like it or not. The responses that recommend short, vague answers where you follow up with questions of your own are the best. You may very well discover a new friend, or you may both realize you don't click and you will naturally not take it any further. But you will be left with a neighbor that is at least on good terms. Remember, they may be the person to notice you being robbed when you are not home. Or notice the smoke from a fire first. Or be accepting of the noise from a large party you decide to throw. There could be a lot of reasons they are talkative, and not all of them are them just being nosy or a dick. They could be genuinely interested, lonely, had a bad neighbor in that house previously, etc., to name a few.
Seriously, the answers that recommend angry confrontations or talk of bodily functions are just ridiculous. And probably from 14-year-olds who have never actually had to navigate relationships with people in the wild. Having your neighbor on good terms is really wonderful. If not crucial, they will be at hand to borrow an egg or help you in an emergency. Hell, my neighbor called me to come sit with her as her husband died. All her family was far away and she needed someone who could come over in 30 seconds to hold her hand and be with her as he took his final breaths. That's what neighbors do. There's no sense in alienating people.
Exactly. I share a duplex with a retired widow whom I thought to be obnoxious and nosy at first, but then I realized that she is actually super lonely. It's the least I can do to chat for a few minutes here and there. Plus, she has definitely come through for me by letting me borrow stuff, keeping an eye out for packages, and stuff like that.
I've always just casually said, "Hey, that's kind of personal," when said with a smile. It usually works.
Turns out the friendly yet honest approach works very well for many situations.
Nice weather we're having. Huh neighbor, hey, that's kind of personal.
I live in an extremely religious community, Mormon, so this happens all the time. I used to try to be vague and give hints, but the best technique I have found is this one. I am kind of a private person. And then I compliment them on something I have noticed. Nice grass, or, hey thanks for checking on me. I know it comes from a good place.
Oh Mormons, you gotta love 'em. I live in Utah, so I can relate. Difference is that once they found out we weren't Mormon, we pretty much turned invisible.
You ever been in a storm, Wally?
Not a thunderstorm, but a storm of fists, raining down on your head.
Start with, and if that doesn't work.
Look, honestly, I have very poor social awareness and no filter at all, so they would probably hear about how my chronic illnesses have resulted in constipation so bad that I have to be on laxatives for 6 months to restart my bowels, and the consequences that all of this has on my sex life. I fully accept that I am the reason that I have very few friends.
When openness and honesty push people away, they simply aren't a part of your flock.
You should move to Germany. This is totally normal there. If you ask someone, "How are you?" they will tell you medically how they are. Took me a bit to get used to when I lived there. The flip side is that the average German can't understand why you would ask someone how they are without expecting an answer. In North America we say, "How are you?" when we mean, "Hi." Germans don't do that. I really liked living there.
I'm that neighbor. I'm an older lady who lives alone and I'm just trying to make a connection with my neighbors. If something happens to me or my pets, I'd like someone nearby to at least notice they haven't seen me in a while or worry about my pets.
I truly like having some small conversations with my neighbors and wish more would partake. Just make sure you aren't approaching the same neighbor every single time you see them outside. I no longer have a good relationship with one of my neighbors because every single solitary time I was outside, her boyfriend insisted on coming to the fence and talking to me. I finally had to ask him to come by more sparingly, and he took that as, no one in your household should ever dare speak to me again. Sometimes I just want to enjoy the sunshine and silence on my patio. It's not a dig at anyone. I just want to be alone, damn it.
Sell your house and try again.
Try having a neighbor who tracks when you leave and arrive back home. Talks to your boss about your work schedule and when you're actually supposed to be at home. Asking my boss if I had COVID when she noticed I hadn't left the house in a couple days. The list goes on and on. I fucking hate nosy neighbors. Is your life really that miserable you have to worry about strangers? I told her off and we are currently looking to move. Some people are just bad neighbors.
WTF. Sounds like borderline stalking to me.
I made friends with my neighbor at the beginning of lockdown. Now whenever I go out front of my house, he comes out. Every single time. Even when we just open our front door, he comes out and just sits. One time, Amazon dropped a package off when I was working on the side of the house. He opened his window, proceeded to yell to me that Amazon had delivered a package. I don't go out of the front door anymore. Unless going to my car. I just hang out around back and even take my dogs on walks leaving through and arriving through the backyard.
My old coworker had a very similar story. They made friends with the neighbor and then he would come around every day to the point it was inappropriate. Oftentimes he would sit on their front porch and would bother them at all hours. And eventually started asking for money. Saying creepy stuff like, "You must have some extra money. I know you work long hours. You haven't been coming home till after 11 p.m. most nights." There's a huge difference between talkative neighbors and guys like that.
Some of the responses you've gotten don't seem to understand that there are just people like this. That don't respect personal boundaries and can't pick up on subtle hints like one-word answers. The way I deal with these people is by humoring them for a bit. Using some of the tactics already mentioned, giving short, uninterested answers. If they don't catch the hints I'm dropping, I'll pretend to have something else to do. Go inside. The premise of this question is why the phrase, "good fences make good neighbors," exists. Try to make your boundaries clear. And, barring that, build a tall fence so they can't bother you.
I don't even make friends with my neighbors. Better to have a distant, cordial relationship when you live close together.